Hey everybody, I know it's getting hot and you've been here all day, so I'm going to make it quick by my standards. Okay, so I'm an honorary Texan and I'm a proud American, but we have a problem because I don't understand, if Texas is so great, why we are where we are. Sorry. I'm sorry, but I got to call it like it is. We shouldn't be in this position. Okay? How many Texans who went to the Capitol on January 6th to exercise their First Amendment rights are sitting in prison without trial? How many veterans? How many law enforcement? What are they doing in this Capitol every day? Because I know what's creeping into our schools is called pornography. I know what's creeping into our schools is called critical race theory under a new name, DEI or some other nonsense, right? Teaching our children to separate according to the color of their skin. I don't know about you, but Nelson Mandela was one of my mentors, and he didn't teach people to judge each other by the color of their skin. He said that we should do the opposite of that. And that's what I carry in my heart every single day. I was born with that in my heart, to be honest with you. I never liked it. If I saw somebody being treated badly, it was a pain. I felt that physical pain. And that's how I feel today, knowing that Texas is the #1 place in the nation for the rape of children for money. That's a reality. So there's been people who've talked a little bit about what happens. But I can tell you there are police officers and Border Patrol agents and lawyers, attorneys, judges, child protection services, family court, counter-trafficking organizations. You know what a lot of these people are doing? They're trafficking kids. They're guilty. When I started working in this area, I was told by many people, you know, a lot of the organizations that say they're counter-trafficking are trafficking kids, right? So this is the harsh reality of why we're here today. How many people are here? There should be 10,000 people here today. Where are they? Where are they? You know where they are? In the great state of Texas, Republican stronghold. They're hiding. Yeah, they're hiding behind their businesses and their family well-being, and they're this and they're that. Nobody wants to be canceled. Nobody wants to be an outlier. Nobody wants to pay a price. Nobody wants to sacrifice. They want to stand on the side of the river, watching people drown and say, wow, I hope someone saves them. Because I don't want to risk anything. I don't want to pay any price. I somehow expect this to be fixed. I expect Jason Jones to fix it. I expect Chip Roy to fix it. I expect Craig Sawyer to fix it. I expect the unnamed Border Patrol agents and law enforcement officers. I expect people inside the FBI to hold the line. Even when every single day they're being hunted down and thrown out if they don't fall in line. And where are you? Where are we? Where am I? Where are the journalists? We know where they are. They're in the tank, right? They're in the tank supporting a false narrative, one false narrative after another. I don't want to be Debbie Downer. I don't want you to walk away hating me. I don't, I'm used to that, so I kind of don't mind. But my job, what I was born for, what I was put here for, was to tell the truth. That was my job. It wasn't to win a popularity contest. It was not. There was a young man here today from Prague University. I sure hope one day that man is leading this country. Yeah, that's a great man, 20 years old, speaking like that. Is that your dad next to you? No? You should be proud. Okay, I say this, I'm not up here to make grand statements about anything. Let me tell you some simple realities. We talk about the Mexican cartels. They are now the shadow government of Mexico. Why are they a shadow government? It's very simple. They don't want to worry about Social Security, education, this kind of stuff. No, it's much easier for the cartels to let everybody think that there's an actual government running Mexico. There is not. Okay, number one. Number two, where does the jurisdiction of the United States law enforcement end, ladies and gentlemen? Where does it end? Oh, that's right, at the Rio Grande. It ends at the borders of the United States. So when you go into Mexico or you go into Honduras or you go anywhere to try to take action against the cartels, you go at the pleasure of the host nation. And if they don't want you there, you don't go. Law enforcement is a failed model for countering the most powerful transnational criminal organizations on the face of the earth. It is a failed model. That doesn't mean that every agent is a failure. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean we've never had a victory. It doesn't mean that they aren't doing their best. It means that the model has failed. And the definition of continuing to do the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity, as we all know. So it is insane to use that as your answer to what we're doing today. Number 3, the government of Mexico is run by the cartels that you're supposed to be fighting. Give me a break, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even need to spend 3 seconds on that. It's self-explanatory. Ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen, okay? Number 4, we're burying children in mass graves in southern Texas. We don't know who they are. We don't know how they died. I know there's not a single person here who's proud of that. If you want to be proud of your state and you want to be proud of your country, you got to do something about that. So I am part of a group with General Flynn and his sister Mary and with Jaco Boyens, who's done who's done a lot to counter child trafficking, and some other people you've never heard about. And we are going to build a monument to all the lost children, the children who've gone missing, the children who've been murdered, the children who've been raped every day till they die, the children who've died on camera, the children who've been sacrificed for child pornography, the children who've been sacrificed in satanic rituals. You know what I'm talking about. There are people here who know. Take Saul Alinsky's handbook and open it up. There's a dedication to Lucifer in the front. You can say I'm crazy. I don't care. I'm not crazy. I couldn't care less. Saul Alinsky and the Rules for Radicals, one of the great leaders of the Marxist movement, paid homage to Satan. They don't believe in God. I believe in God. I do. I believe in God, and I know God will prevail. But I am not okay. I am not okay with knowing that tonight when I go to bed and tomorrow morning when I wake up, there's another child that died in the night in the most horrific way possible. The most horrific way possible. There's an entire city in Mexico, Tenancingo, that is built on generations of child rape. And we have a special unit of the Department of Homeland Security called the Tenancingo Unit based in New York, set up just for that city. That's how long we have known. That's how long we have done nothing. We have done nothing, and it's not okay. And so we say nothing as our schools go digital. We go into a digital world. You know, everything digital, it comes down to this one thing. We don't control it. Somebody else does. Somebody else can decide whether you use your phone, use your Wi-Fi, drive your car. I mean, ultimately, they can turn your car off if you have GPS. And, you know, I mean, think of what you're giving up. Think of what you're giving up. There's a lot of people today talked about left and right. This isn't about left and right, do this together. That's right, it's not about left and right. And if you don't know about 5th generation warfare and 6th generation warfare and 7th generation warfare, then you have no idea where we're going. And you are walking like a lamb to the slaughter with your eyes closed. You are like those people that marched to Auschwitz and other places. That's what you are like. That's what we're doing. We're sitting literally at the gates of Auschwitz and we're arguing about whether it's climate change or is that really the ashes of human beings rising into the air. That's the ashes of this country. That's the ashes of sovereignty, individual sovereignty, national sovereignty. This is how simple it is. This is how simple it is. Sir, when you say Open Society Foundation or open borders, what does that mean? Oh, when you say that blood is the secret to anti-aging, how much blood, sir? Does it matter how young I mean, if you're 15 or 5 months old or 5 days old, does it change the potency of that anti-aging component? Where do you get that blood, sir? Okay, so I'm the crazy one for talking about it, but read about it in Politico or USA Today or NBC News. You can find many articles telling you that blood is the secret to aging. But nobody asked the simple follow-up question. That's why at 60 Minutes, they called me the follow-up honey badger, because apparently I would never let go until I got an answer. It starts there. It starts with never letting go until you get a real answer. And the answers are staring you in the face. Fifth generation warfare is a war of narratives, but by the time you get through sixth and seventh, you're fighting something that isn't even present around us today. You're fighting machines and artificial intelligence, and you're fighting a digital version of you. And if you don't want to go there, you don't have to go there. I hear people say to me, progress is inevitable. You can't stop technology. Well, okay, well then you can't stop the end of humanity. If you don't want your children to live as slaves, then that's your choice. Because right now, you can still do something about it. And that open border is right at the heart and soul and center of all of these policies. Years ago, I heard a spokesperson for Bernie Sanders say on national television, Chris Matthews at MSNBC made the mistake of saying that Bernie Sanders reminded him of at one point of, the Nazis. And that something he was doing, was reminiscent of Nazi tactics. Oh boy, not allowed to say that, right? That one cut too close to home. Because really, there's no difference between the Nazis and the communists and the fascists. They're all fascists. None of them believe in freedom, and none of them believe in God, and that's all you got to know. So you know what he said when he went out, making sure that Chris Matthews was targeted and lost his job? He said, the days of milk white America are over, and the future of this country is diverse. And that's what every American needs to know. So I thought, oh, well, that's interesting. Why does he say that? And when he says days are over, how many days exactly? And what does that look like? So I'm a journalist. Well, I spent a long time trying to find the population demographics of America because they don't want you to know that more than 75% of this country is still white. So my question is not, I don't like to deal in issues of race, but I want to know what it is exactly you mean. Well, what it is exactly you mean is that we're going to flood the borders of the United States with so many people from so many other places that you will no longer recognize this country. They want you to think it's about race. It's not really about race. It's diluting the pool of people that believe in what this country represents. Diluting the pool of patriots. Getting rid of people who know what the red, white, and blue stands for, or who remember the Alamo. That's what it's about. Because if you dilute the pool of patriots, then step by step, you can go to regional government, and from regional government, you can go to global government. And your individual sovereignty and your national sovereignty are indistinct, in a sense. There's a gentleman here, he's right over there, his name is Glenn Macko. He's poured everything that he owns, everything that he is. I'm not supposed to say this, but sometimes he has to hide from his wife and children because they supported the vaccines and the mandates and he didn't. He paid a personal price in his home, and he's here if you want to talk to him. He's trying to take down Pfizer, and he can tell you why it's possible. That's what I mean about sacrificing everything. That's what I mean about doing something. You have an opportunity. It's not a burden. It is not a burden. It's not something to be feared. It's something to get down on your knees and be grateful for, because your life will mean more than anyone else's. How many of you here have had children? You're looking at, let's face it, I'm 52. I'm in the last half. I know it. I'm in the last half of my life. I'm going to make it count. That's a freedom. I'm not afraid to die. Dying is part of living. We are born and we die. These people don't want to die. They tell you aging, death, these things are a thing of the past. Human beings don't ever have to live like that again. Well, why would you want to live forever? It's like power. I never wanted it, as I'm not interested in it. Holds nothing for me. I don't care about power or everlasting life. I care about what I do now. I care about the fact that Texas is the #1 state in the nation for sex trafficking. #1 state in the nation for sex trafficking. That's not something to hold your head about. But it doesn't have to be that way. There are many things that can be done. You listen to a lot of people today. I've been talking for too long already, but you listen to a lot of people that told you about things that can be done. And there's one thing I want you to understand. Every little thing fits into a bigger picture, as you all know. So here's a piece of the puzzle. Yes, the Mexican cartels are the real enemy, but who are their allies? Who are their allies? For decades, the Chinese Communist Party has had people living in countries like Mexico. The Chinese Communist Party is all over Latin America. They've married into the cartels. Where did fentanyl come from, ladies and gentlemen? Where did China get it from? They got it from us. That's where they got it from. The United States of America. They got it from the Bush administration. They got it from the Biden administration. They got it from every single administration that has been in power and has enabled and facilitated the movement of all of our manufacturing to China, and who has not stood up and been honest about what is happening. It is a national security issue when you allow one country to have complete control over the manufacturing of every single pharmaceutical your population needs to survive. And when that was exposed during COVID, what did they do about it? Nothing. Where did they find out how to make fentanyl? From the American pharmaceutical companies that outsourced manufacturing to China, who allowed the Chinese Communist Party to put its spies in their companies, who allowed them to steal everything, and then stood by and did nothing while they sent it as a mail-order drug, a few grains at a time. And once Americans were addicted, and Donald Trump went to Davos and said to Xi Jinping, "You got to ban fentanyl?" Oh, he said, "With pleasure." You know why? Because Chinese pharmacists were already in Sinaloa in the mountains teaching the Mexican cartels how to make it, because China doesn't care about the money. So what do they care about? They care about unrestricted drug warfare. There's all kinds of unrestricted warfare. There's unrestricted immigration warfare, by the way. There's unrestricted drug warfare. How did the Chinese lose to the British in the Opium Wars? Because Britain bought a different form of opium from India. They learned more than 100 years ago about the cost of not paying attention to drug warfare. People who are addicted to drugs don't pay taxes. They don't join the military. They don't raise stable families. They don't go to work every Monday morning. They don't. Their lives are a mess. And it's a roll of the dice if their kids make it out. That's not a stable foundation for a country. This country is already at war. And I would put to you that all these people yelling from the rooftops about the Chinese invading, who are the allies of the Chinese? Democrats. Not just Democrats. There are Republicans and Democrats all over our government who are in bed with the Chinese. Some of them are taking money. Some of them get other things. Some of them go on business trips and have sex with little boys, and they get caught, and they don't want to admit it. Ask General Flynn. When he was appointed by Trump as National Security Advisor, he said there were so many thousands of members of the national security state that all forms of counterintelligence and security had gone out of the window. Literally out of the window. The Chinese Communist Party has been infiltrating people into our colleges for years. The Obama administration extended their visas. Secretary Kerry, thank you very much. Our universities are completely bored out. They're teaching studies according that the Chinese Communist Party want. They're used to fat salaries and luxurious campuses that could never be sustained without the money from foreign entities. And then they send their spies out into American families, American towns, American businesses. This country is so infiltrated that when the DEA launched Operation Python years ago against Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generacion, CJNG, and arrested more than 700 members of that cartel on U.S. soil and seized billions of dollars, guess what it did to the operations of CJNG according to the DEA? Nothing. They didn't miss a step. The cartels have gone into towns and cities across America, bought up property. So have the Chinese. They work hand in hand. And they are in bed with people within this government. So I don't buy the saber rattling. Doesn't mean the threat isn't real. But look beyond the surface to what you're really looking at. And you should know, if you have children and if you have grandchildren, they are being indoctrinated in the schools in Texas, in small towns and big cities. It is happening all over this state. And people who are at Moms for Liberty and Moms for America, they're branded as extremists. Thank you. Thank you. Branded as extremists, targeted as terrorists. That's actually happening on our watch. You know, anybody here from Gillespie County, vote for Dennis McCandless, because he's the only guy that doesn't brand Moms for Liberty as an extremist organization. That's in a conservative town, in a conservative part, in the heart of the hill country of Texas. I have moms coming to me from places, Leandra and New Braunfels and all over. Their kids are being taught to be furries in the classroom. So it's not a time for celebrating. Time is short. If you ask General Flynn, he'll tell you we have 18 months or less. But I will end on this note. When 60 Minutes has to do a puff piece on Ray Epps pretending he's not a federal informant, most likely, I can't confirm that, so for the lawyers, I don't know for sure, but I know what journalism is, and that wasn't it. That's a sign of desperation, ladies and gentlemen. It's a sign that they're losing control of the narratives. And when Mike Morrell, the former deputy director of the CIA, has to admit under oath to the Judiciary Committee that he lied about Hunter Biden's laptop, that it was orchestrated by the Biden campaign, and that his motive was to sway the election so Biden could win, and I couldn't care, you could replace Biden's name with anyone else's. When you admit to doing that, you're admitting to guilt, you're admitting to conspiracy, you're laying out your intent, and somebody's got you by the balls. That's what that means. Find a target, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on for dear life and don't stop, because we have everything to lose. Thank you so much.